bride heard the groom's confession. Minutes before the wedding, her revenge shocked everyone. The chapel bells were ringing, 200 guests were seated, and the bride was about to walk down the aisle when she overheard 3 words that would destroy everything. She's the target. What happened next would become the most talked about wedding scandal in the history of Millbrook Heights, and the most brilliant revenge ever executed. Isabel Mitchell stood before the mirror in the bridal suite at St. Catherine's Cathedral, adjusting her grandmother's pearl necklace for the final time. In 20 minutes, she would walk down that aisle to marry Ryan Reynolds, the man she'd loved for 2 years. The man who made her laugh until her sides hurt, who brought her coffee in bed every Sunday morning, who held her when she cried about her father's failing health. The $8,000 Vera Wang dress fit perfectly, the hand-sewn beadwork catching the afternoon light streaming through the stained glass windows. Her makeup artist had outdone herself. Isabel had never looked more radiant. Everything was perfect. Then she heard the voices. The door to the bridal suite was slightly ajar, and Ryan's voice carried clearly from the hallway. He was talking to his best men, Jake and Tommy, just outside. "Dude, are you seriously going through with this?" Jake's voice was unmistakable. Ryan laughed, but it wasn't the warm laugh Isabel knew and loved. It was cold, calculating. "Of course I am. Do you know what her father is worth? 12 million, minimum. Isabel's his only child." Isabel's hand froze on her necklace. Her heart began to pound. But what if she finds out? That was Tommy, always the nervous one. "She won't," Ryan replied confidently. "Isabel's sweet, but she's naive. She thinks I fell for her at that charity gala. Truth is, I spent weeks researching which events the Mitchell family would attend. I knew exactly who she was before I accidentally spilled wine on her dress." The memory hit Isabel like a physical blow. Their first meeting, Ryan bumping into her at the Children's Hospital fundraiser, apologizing profusely, insisting on paying for the dress cleaning, asking for her number to make sure it came out okay. She had thought it was the most romantic meet-cute ever. It had all been planned. "And the old man really trusts you?" Jake asked. "Completely. Robert Mitchell thinks I'm the son he never had. Been grooming me to take over the business for months now. Once Isabel and I are married, he'll fast-track the partnership. Give me signing authority, access to the company accounts. Then it's just a matter of time." Isabel's legs nearly gave out. Her father, Robert Mitchell, had built Mitchell Electronics from nothing, a small repair shop that became the largest electronics retailer in 3 states. He had been so happy when Ryan showed interest in the business, talking for hours about expansion plans, new markets, the future of retail technology. "Time for what?" Tommy pressed. Ryan's voice dropped lower, but Isabel caught every chilling word. "Time to transfer what I need to the Cayman accounts I set up last month. By the time anyone notices, I'll have enough to disappear. Maybe I'll send Isabel a postcard from some beach." "Jesus, Ryan," Jake whispered. "That's seriously messed up." "Is it?" "My father left us with nothing when he died. Just medical bills and debt. I've been busting my ass for years while people like the Mitchells get handed everything. This is just evening the score." Isabel pressed her hand to her mouth to keep from gasping. Ryan had told her his father died in a car accident when he was 16. She had held him while he cried about it just last month. "What about Isabel?" Tommy asked. "She really loves you, man." There was a pause. Then Ryan laughed again, that same cold sound. "Isabel's a nice girl, but she's boring. Do you know how hard it's been pretending to be interested in her pottery classes and book clubs? The sex is decent, but once I have what I need, I'm done playing house." The cruelty in his voice cut through Isabel like broken glass. Every intimate moment they'd shared, every "I love you," every plan for their future, all lies. "You're really going to go through with the wedding?" Jake asked. "I have to." "Robert's already drawn up the papers to bring me into the partnership. But I need to be family first. The ceremony's just theater. After the honeymoon, I'll have full access to everything. 6 months, tops, and I'll have moved enough money to set myself up for life. Footsteps approached the door. Shit, we should get back, Tommy said. The ceremony starts soon. Right. Time to play the loving groom, Ryan said, his voice already shifting to the warm, affectionate tone Isabel knew so well. Remember, not a word of this to anyone. Ever. The footsteps retreated down the hallway. Isabel stood frozen in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection. The beautiful bride looking back at her suddenly seemed like a stranger, a fool who had been played by a master manipulator. Her phone buzzed. A text from her maid of honor, Jessica. Girl, where are you? Everyone's waiting. Isabel's mind raced. 200 guests were seated in the cathedral. Her father had spent $75,000 on this wedding. The band, the flowers, the reception at the country club. Everything was ready. Her mother had been planning this day for months, crying with joy over fabric swatches and menu selections. She could walk out there right now, stop the ceremony, expose Ryan in front of everyone. The satisfaction would be immediate and complete. But then what? Ryan would leave. He'd probably find another target, another naive young woman to manipulate. And he'd be more careful next time. Isabel had a better idea. She took out her phone and called her younger brother Daniel, a computer science major at Stanford who was home for the wedding. Daniel, I need you to do something for me right now. Don't ask questions. Isabel, what's wrong? You sound weird. I need you to go to Dad's office and access his computer. Use the password, Mom's birthday followed by the year they got married. I need you to change the access codes on all the company bank accounts. What? Isabel, that's insane. Why would you? Daniel, I'm about to marry a man who plans to steal everything from our family. I need those codes changed now, before the reception. Can you do it? There was a pause. Holy shit. Are you serious? Dead serious. And I need you to set up a recording app on your phone. I'll explain later. On it. Isabel, are you okay? I will be. Just trust me. She hung up and called Jessica. Jess, I need you to do me a huge favor. Get Ryan's phone from his jacket in the groom's room. His password is 0614, his fake dead father's birthday. Screenshot everything on his messages and email. Then put it back. Isabel, what the hell is going on? I'll explain everything later. Just please trust me and be discreet. Next, she called her father's business attorney, Frank Morrison, who was attending the wedding. Frank, it's Isabel. I need you to prepare some documents immediately. I'll explain when I see you, but I need a fraudulent marriage annulment petition and a criminal complaint for conspiracy to commit fraud. Yes, I know how that sounds. No, I'm not having cold feet. I'll have evidence. Finally, she called her cousin Danny, who worked for a private investigation firm in Chicago. Danny, remember how you always said if I ever needed anything, just call? I need you to run a complete background check on Ryan Reynolds. Real name, financial history, criminal record, everything. I need it in the next 2 hours. Isabel, your wedding starts in 15 minutes. I know. That's why I need this fast. She hung up and looked at herself in the mirror again. The woman looking back at her now wasn't naive or foolish. She was determined. Isabel walked out of the bridal suite and down the hallway toward the cathedral's main doors. She could hear the string quartet playing, the gentle murmur of guests settling into their seats. Jessica appeared at her elbow, looking frazzled. I got into his phone. Isabel, there are messages to at least 3 other women in different states, recent messages, and emails about setting up offshore accounts. What is happening? Ryan's a con man, and I'm about to give him exactly what he deserves. The wedding coordinator rushed over. Isabel, thank goodness. We were about to start the processional. You look absolutely stunning, dear. Thank you, Margaret. I'm ready. The doors opened, and the familiar strains of Wagner's bridal chorus began. Isabel took her father's arm and started down the aisle. Robert Mitchell beamed at his daughter. You look beautiful, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. Ryan's a lucky man. Thanks, Dad. I love you too. As they walked, Isabel's eyes found Ryan waiting at the altar. He looked devastatingly handsome in his tailored tuxedo, his face lighting up when he saw her. The performance was perfect. If she didn't know better, she'd believe that look of pure adoration was real. Behind him stood Jake and Tommy, both looking distinctly uncomfortable. Isabel smiled brilliantly and continued down the aisle, her grandmother's dress trailing behind her like a white river. Dear viewers, if you're enjoying this incredible story of revenge and justice, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us bring you more amazing content. Now, let's see how Isabel's plan unfolds. When they reached the altar, Robert placed Isabel's hand in Ryan's and stepped back to his seat in the front pew. "You look incredible," Ryan whispered, squeezing her hand. His eyes were warm and loving, his smile genuine. He was that good. "Thank you," Isabel replied sweetly. "I can't wait to be your wife." The ceremony began. Father Mackenzie had known the Mitchell family for years and spoke warmly about love, commitment, and building a life together on trust and honesty. The irony wasn't lost on Isabel. "Marriage is a sacred bond," Father Mackenzie said, "built on the foundation of truth and mutual respect. It requires us to be vulnerable, to share our whole selves with another person." Ryan nodded solemnly, playing his part perfectly. When it came time for the vows, Ryan went first. He pulled out a folded piece of paper, his hands trembling slightly, though Isabel now suspected it was from excitement rather than emotion. "Isabel," he began, his voice thick with apparent feeling, "2 years ago, fate brought us together at a charity event. From the moment I spilled wine on your dress, I knew my life had changed forever." Several guests chuckled softly. Isabel maintained her radiant smile. "You've made me a better man," Ryan continued. "Your kindness, your intelligence, your beautiful heart, they've shown me what real love looks like. I promise to protect you, to cherish you, and to build our future together on honesty and trust. You're my everything, Isabel. My whole world." The guests murmured appreciatively. Isabel's mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "Thank you, Ryan," Isabel said when he finished. Those were beautiful words. She had prepared her own vows, but now she set aside her notes and spoke from the heart. "Ryan, when I first met you, I thought I was the luckiest woman in the world. You seemed too good to be true. Handsome, charming, interested in my family's business, eager to be part of our lives." Ryan's smile faltered slightly, but he recovered quickly. "Over the past 2 years, you've shown me exactly who you are. You've been so attentive, so interested in every detail of my life, my father's business, our family's finances. Your dedication has been impressive." A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Something in Isabel's tone was changing. "You've taught me so much, Ryan. About trust. About how easily someone can pretend to be something they're not. About how important it is to really know the person you're planning to spend your life with." Ryan's eyes narrowed slightly. "Isabel, I promise to give you exactly what you deserve," Isabel continued, her voice growing stronger. "I promise to make sure you get everything that's coming to you. I promise that today will be a day you'll never, ever forget." Father Mackenzie cleared his throat. "Well then, let us proceed with the exchange of rings." Isabel's phone, tucked discreetly in her bouquet, buzzed with a text. She glanced down quickly. Daniel had sent a thumbs-up emoji. The bank codes were changed. Another buzz showed Danny's message. "Background check complete. You're not going to believe this." "The rings, please," Father Mackenzie prompted. Jake stepped forward with Isabel's ring, his hands visibly shaking. Ryan took it and reached for Isabel's left hand. "Ryan," Isabel said loudly enough for the entire cathedral to hear, "before we exchange rings, I have something I'd like to share with everyone." Ryan's face went pale. "Isabel, this isn't really the time." "Oh, but it's the perfect time," Isabel said, her voice carrying clearly through the cathedral. "Everyone we love is here. Everyone who matters to our families is watching. It's the ideal moment for complete honesty." She turned to face the congregation, her smile brilliant and terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you all about the man I almost married, Ryan Reynolds, who swept me off my feet at a charity gala 2 years ago. Ryan, who has been so interested in my father's business, so eager to become part of our family. Isabel, stop, Ryan hissed, grabbing her arm. She shook him off gently. Ryan, who spent weeks researching my family before that accidental meeting. Ryan, who has been planning to marry me, gain access to our family business, and steal everything he can before disappearing to the Cayman Islands. A collective gasp went through the cathedral. Robert Mitchell half rose from his seat, his face confused and alarmed. "Isabel, what are you talking about?" he called out. Isabel reached into her bouquet and pulled out her phone, which had been recording since she started her vows. She pressed play, and Ryan's voice filled the cathedral, crystal clear. "Do you know what her father is worth? 12 million, minimum. Isabel's his only child." The color drained from Ryan's face completely. He looked like he might faint. The recording continued. "Isabel's sweet, but she's naive. She thinks I fell for her at that charity gala. Truth is, I spent weeks researching which events the Mitchell family would attend." Shocked murmurs rippled through the guests. Isabel's mother stood up, her hand pressed to her chest. "Time to transfer what I need to the Cayman accounts I set up last month. By the time anyone notices, I'll have enough to disappear." Ryan lunged for the phone, but Daniel appeared beside Isabel, having moved up from his seat in the family pew. At 6'3" and built like the college wrestler he'd been, Daniel easily blocked Ryan's path. "I wouldn't," Daniel said calmly. The recording played on. "Isabel's a nice girl, but she's boring. Do you know how hard it's been pretending to be interested in her pottery classes and book clubs?" Isabel's friends in the congregation looked stricken. Her pottery instructor, Mrs. Henderson, whom Isabel had invited because she'd been so excited about Ryan's apparent interest in her hobby, sat with her mouth hanging open. Ryan tried to run. He made it 3 steps before 2 men in suits stepped into his path. Isabel had spotted them earlier, private security her father always hired for family events. "Ladies and gentlemen," Isabel announced, her voice ringing through the stunned cathedral. "I'd like you all to meet Ryan Sullivan, that's his real name, a professional con artist with outstanding warrants in 3 states for fraud, identity theft, and larceny." She held up her phone, showing Danny's background check results. In the past 5 years, he's been engaged to 4 other women from wealthy families. He's currently married to a woman in Nevada who has no idea where he is. Ryan's legs gave out. He sank to his knees on the altar steps, his face in his hands. The Cayman Islands accounts he mentioned? They're real. He opened them last month using forged documents. He's also been stealing money from my father's company for weeks. Small amounts he thought no one would notice. Robert Mitchell stood up fully now, his face a mask of fury. "Security." "Already handled, Dad," Isabel said calmly. "I've also had all the company bank account access codes changed as of 30 minutes ago. And Frank Morrison has already filed the necessary legal documents. Ryan won't be transferring anything to anywhere." She turned to look down at Ryan, who was still kneeling on the cathedral steps, broken and defeated. "You were right about one thing, Ryan. I am naive. I believed every lie you told me. I thought you loved me. I thought we were building something real together." Her voice softened, and for a moment, the pain she'd been hiding showed through. "But you underestimated me in one crucial way. You thought because I was trusting, I was weak. You thought because I was kind, I was stupid. You thought because I loved you, I would let you destroy my family." She leaned closer to him, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried through the hushed cathedral. "You were wrong." The sound of sirens could be heard approaching outside. Isabel had arranged that too. Jessica stepped up beside her friend, tears streaming down her face. "Isabel, I can't believe. I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry," Isabel replied, taking off her engagement ring and dropping it at Ryan's feet. "This is the best thing that could have happened. Better to find out now than after he'd destroyed everything we've worked for." The police entered through the cathedral's main doors. Isabel had briefed them earlier, providing all the evidence Danny had uncovered, the recording, the screenshots from Ryan's phone, documentation of the offshore accounts. As they placed Ryan in handcuffs, he finally looked up at Isabel. "I did care about you," he said quietly. "That part wasn't all fake." Isabel studied his face, looking for any sign of sincerity. Maybe there was some small truth there, but it didn't matter now. "I know," she replied, "and that makes it even worse." As Ryan was led away, the cathedral erupted in chaos. Guests were on their phones, calling friends and family to share the unbelievable story. The wedding photographer was still taking pictures. Isabel had specifically asked her to document everything. Robert Mitchell made his way to the altar, his face cycling through shock, anger, and then pride as he looked at his daughter. "Sweetheart, when did you?" "About an hour ago," Isabel said, finally allowing herself to collapse into her father's arms. "I heard him talking to his friends in the hallway." Everything he said, everything he'd planned. "My God, Isabel. If you hadn't overheard that conversation." "I know." Isabel pulled back to look at her father. "Dad, I need you to have the company books audited immediately. I think he's been stealing for longer than we realize." "Already on it," Robert said grimly. "Frank's calling our forensic accountant now." Isabel's mother, Patricia, appeared at her elbow, tears streaming down her face. "Honey, I can't believe that horrible man. How could he do this to you, to our family?" "It's okay, Mom," Isabel said, hugging her tightly. "Really, it's better this way." Father Mackenzie approached hesitantly. "Isabel, dear, in 40 years of performing weddings, I've never seen anything like this. I'm sorry for disrupting your service, Father." "Are you kidding?" Father Mackenzie actually smiled. That was the most excitement St. Catherine's has seen since the fire of 1987. "Are you all right, though? Really?" Isabel considered the question. "You know what? I think I am. I feel free." If you're as shocked by this turn of events as Isabel's wedding guests were, smash that like button. And don't forget to subscribe because we have so many more incredible stories of justice and revenge coming your way. As the cathedral slowly emptied, Isabel stood at the altar in her beautiful dress, surrounded by her family and real friends. The reception was canceled, obviously, but several guests suggested they should celebrate anyway. Isabel had just saved her family from financial ruin and herself from a disastrous marriage. Jessica hugged her tightly. "Isabel, you are the strongest person I know. What you just did, I can't believe you held it together through that entire ceremony." "I had to," Isabel replied. "If I'd confronted him privately, he would have just disappeared and found another victim. This way, he'll face real consequences." Daniel appeared with Isabel's coat. "Sis, I hate to be the bearer of more bad news, but I found something else when I was changing the bank codes." Isabel's stomach dropped. "What?" "He didn't just set up accounts for himself. He forged Mom's signature on some documents. He was planning to claim she authorized the transfers." Isabel felt sick. "He would have made it look like Mom was part of it." "Yep. If anything had gone wrong, she would have been the fall guy." Isabel looked across the cathedral at her mother, who was accepting hugs and sympathy from friends. Patricia Mitchell, who had been so thrilled about the wedding, who had welcomed Ryan into the family with open arms, who had been completely innocent in all of this. "I'm going to destroy him," Isabel said quietly. "I think you already did," Daniel replied. "But Isabel, how did you know to change the bank codes? How did you think of all this so quickly?" Isabel was quiet for a moment. "You know those business classes Dad made me take in college? The ones I complained about because I wanted to study art? Yeah. One of them was about corporate fraud. The professor spent weeks on case studies of embezzlement and financial crimes. I learned that most fraud happens because companies trust the wrong people and don't have proper safeguards in place. She looked at her brother. When I heard Ryan's plan, I realized he was following a textbook playbook, so I just implemented the textbook defenses. 3 months later, Ryan Sullivan, his real name, was sentenced to 7 years in prison for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. The investigation revealed he had stolen over $200,000 from Mitchell Electronics over the course of 6 months, taking small amounts from different accounts to avoid detection. The money was recovered, along with funds he had stolen from his previous victims. The Nevada wife he had abandoned came forward, and she was able to divorce him and reclaim assets he had hidden. Isabel used the story of her wedding day as the foundation for a business consulting firm specializing in fraud prevention. She traveled around the country speaking to companies about protecting themselves from internal threats and building better security protocols. She also started a foundation to help victims of romance scams, people who had been targeted by con artists like Ryan. The foundation provided legal assistance, financial counseling, and emotional support. 1 year after the wedding that never was, Isabel was featured on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine as Young Businesswoman of the Year. In the interview, she talked about turning the worst day of her life into the catalyst for her life's work. Ryan thought he was taking advantage of my naivety, she told the interviewer. But naivety and kindness aren't the same thing. You can be trusting without being foolish. You can be compassionate without being weak. 2 years later, Isabel met James Chen, a fraud investigator with the FBI who had worked on Ryan's case. James was impressed by Isabel's quick thinking and thorough preparation. He said it was one of the most well-documented fraud cases he'd ever seen. Their first date was at a pottery class. James was genuinely terrible at it, getting clay everywhere and producing lopsided bowls that made Isabel laugh until she cried. But his interest was real, his laughter was honest, and when he looked at her, Isabel could see the difference immediately. James proposed to Isabel on the 3-year anniversary of her first wedding day, not because of the date, but because he said that was the day she proved she was the strongest person he'd ever known. This time, the wedding was small, just family and close friends at Isabel's parents' house, with a simple ceremony in the backyard garden. Isabel wore her grandmother's pearl necklace again, but this time with a simple sundress she bought for $89. Father Mackenzie officiated again. During the ceremony, he couldn't help but smile as he said, "Marriage is built on truth and trust, and sometimes on the courage to demand both." Isabel's wedding to James made the local newspaper too, but for different reasons. The headline read, "Local Fraud Prevention Expert Finds True Love with FBI Agent." As for Ryan Sullivan, he served his full sentence. Isabel heard through the legal grapevine that he spent his time in prison getting his GED and taking business classes, legitimate ones this time. She hoped he was genuinely trying to change, but she also knew that some people never do. On the day he was released, Isabel received a letter forwarded through her attorney. "Isabel, I know I have no right to contact you, and I understand if you don't read this. I want you to know that I think about what I did every day, not just the crime, but the cruelty of it. You loved me, and I used that love as a weapon against you and your family. I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know that you changed my life that day in the cathedral. Not by having me arrested, I deserved that, but by showing me what real strength looks like. You could have destroyed me quietly, but instead you made sure everyone knew the truth. You protected other people who might have been my victims. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve it. But I wanted you to know that you probably saved more lives than you realize, and I'm grateful that you're the kind of person who does what's right even when it's hard. I hope you're happy. I hope you found someone who deserves you." Ryan Isabel read the letter once, then filed it away. She had moved on with her life, but she was glad to know that maybe, possibly, Ryan had learned something from the experience. 5 years after the wedding that shocked everyone, Isabel and James celebrated their second anniversary. Isabel's business was thriving, her parents were proud and healthy, and Daniel had graduated from Stanford and joined the family company with new security protocols that Isabel had helped design. At their anniversary dinner, James raised his glass in a toast. "To my wife, who taught me that sometimes the best revenge is living well and protecting others from the people who would hurt them." Isabel clinked her glass against his. "And to you, for proving that good guys really do exist." As they sat together in their favorite restaurant, Isabel reflected on how different her life might have been if she hadn't overheard that conversation in the cathedral hallway. She might have spent years married to a man who was using her. Her family might have lost everything. Other women might have fallen victim to Ryan's schemes. Instead, she had found her true calling, met the love of her life, and built something meaningful from one of the most painful experiences of her life. Sometimes the best revenge really was living well and making sure justice was served along the way. What do you think of Isabel's incredible revenge? Was she right to expose Ryan so publicly, or should she have handled it differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and if you loved this story of justice and karma, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest incredible true stories. Trust me, we have some amazing content coming up that you won't want to miss.